Hi friends, it's Tracy from the Financial Freedom Diary, and today I'm back to tell you about the 4 expenses that I reduced from my budget to help me kickstart my debt snowball and get me on my way with my debt-free journey. So the first expense that I reduced within my budget was for my groceries. I used to spend over $600 a month, and I'm estimating on the low side by saying $600. I probably was spending a lot more, probably closer to $7, because I was really bad about impulse buying when I went into a store, and I also never followed the shopping list that I would create. So yes, I would walk into a store with a list and I would get some things, and then next thing you know, I'm off grabbing things and trying to guess that somebody might want something that I thought was good. You know, like my son might say chocolate ice cream, but I'm gonna get him chocolate ice cream, I'm gonna get cookies and cream, and then I'm gonna get the chocolate cookies and cream. That's the type of stuff that I was doing. I also changed where I went. It didn't matter if it was Walmart or Kroger. I saw very little savings between these two stores. But when I switched over to Aldi's, there were some things I buy from Aldi's, and there's some things I buy from Walmart, and some things I buy from Kroger. But the bulk of my shopping actually comes from Aldi's. I still have my shopping list and I follow it carefully. And I also make sure I eat before I go to the store, so that prevents me from grabbing a lot of convenience foods like potato chips and things like that, because I'm hungry when I get in there. And so I look at what I pay now, which is about, when you average it out over the years, about $380, because in November, December, I increased my grocery budget to $350 to make sure I can cover the cost of hams and turkeys and extra things that I normally don't have throughout the year, from that over $600. So it's about $300 a month in savings. And that came in real handy early on when I was in the red. I was negative on pretty much everything as far as my balance and making my budget meet. And so for groceries for a year, that totals up to $3,600 in savings a year in groceries. The second expense that I cut from my budget was around my cable, home phone, and internet package that I had. I have been paying $215.88 for cable, home phone, and internet. What I really needed was just strictly internet, because nobody in my house really watched cable and nobody talked on the home phone. And so I just shopped around and looked online and saw what were they offering for an internet bundle, and see if I can get a plan that was more, that would cover the amount of data that we use per month, because my kids game and stuff. So I wanted to make sure I had everything covered. And so this one was a really easy slash. Just say, hey, I don't need cable, I don't need the home phone, here's your box, have it a day. And so the total cost at that time went down from $215.88 to actually $113. But now the promotion period is up, and so I paid $144.18, which left me with a savings of $71.70 per month. And so the total amount that I get per year is $860.40. So I hope the camera is able to focus on that and it's not getting washed out with the lights. But if you see me looking off to the side too, I'm looking at my notes because I have to write these down, because I like to give facts as far as the figures are concerned. But yeah, that was something that I have been wasting for years with cable and the home phone, because nobody used it. That made absolutely no sense now in hindsight. But for some reason, I just kept it. So the third expense that I reduced from my budget was the cell phone bill. This one was challenging, and I actually got a bigger savings than what I actually thought that I was going to get. But I went at this 2 ways. One of the things that I was doing in my cell phone plan was I was leasing our phones, and I was also paying for insurance on all 3 of the devices. So my original bill was $267.74. And so I went online, and it was a little bit difficult to find where the total cost of the phones was. Like, what was that amount? It wasn't real out there where I can get it, and I had to do a bunch of clicks, and it took me a little bit to go and find it, but I found it. Ended up being $230 to finish paying off all 3 devices. I mean, seriously. So I saved the money up. Once I had it in my account, contacted Sprint, told them that I wanted to pay off the devices, paid off all the devices. Then I went back in and I canceled the insurance program thing that I had signed up for with them. The thing about that I felt like I did not need that anymore was because I had damaged my phone. Actually, yeah, I did damage my phone, and because I've lost phones too, so I had to think about that. But I damaged my phone and I needed a replacement. When they sent me a replacement, I paid them $200, and the phone that I got was garbage. That phone acted like it had a virus on there, and it was the one I recently traded in, and it just didn't perform well. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be caught up in this again, because to me it felt like a scam. It didn't feel like I had got a fair deal for what I had versus what they sent to me. It was just not right. So, but anyway, that took off about, let's see, that reduced it about $100 or so. And then I went to my sons. They were the second point, because at that point in time, both of them were working. And so the only things they covered were things that were related to themselves. Well, I don't talk on 3 phones. I don't use 3 phones, I only use 1 phone. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to them and they're gonna cover their portion. This is gonna be their first bill here, is they're gonna cover their portion of the cell phone bill. So I went to each of them and I said, hey, you know, here's your portion of the cell phone bill. It's $50. Both my sons had the same response, and I wasn't talking to them at the same time. And they were like, oh, cool. I have been looking into that, and it's cheaper this way versus me getting one on my own. Now, I should have done that sooner. That's my one thing. It's like, oh yeah, I should have done that sooner. Kids. And so now my portion of the cell phone bill is $61.76, which gives me a total savings of $205.98 per month on a cell phone. So for the year, that's $2,471.76 a year in savings. So I'm gonna try to get that closer there. And so that really did shock me, because I went about it one way to improve monthly amounts, not looking at the total for the whole year. So the fourth expense that I cut from my budget or reduced, no, these are total cuts because I don't participate in them anymore. This was clubs and memberships. I had a habit of signing up for things and then I didn't use them at all. I have a really bad habit of doing that, and I have to watch myself, because it's always a good idea at that moment, and then later I'm too busy to even use it. So I was in a runner's club, and a friend of mine had a club, so I was paying dues over there. I was paying dues to get in. I was paying dues for everything, donations for all this other stuff, and I also had a license for Pluralsight for training for work. That cost me $299, but the training that I got off of there, I mean, I can't put a value on there, because it really did catapult me as a developer at work. But it was still coming out of my pocket. And it was one of those things where you're at work, you're expected to perform at something, but you don't have the skills for it, or your skills are not quite what they need to be to perform that act. So it wasn't available at work, so I found it, talked to some guys, and then I found the site, looked at the cost, told my boss about it, but also went out and just paid for it instead of waiting on the company. And that was like $299. And then another thing that I needed was, I was trying to explain some stuff in the meeting. I needed Vizio. Went, asked about it, and of course you get sent here, there, everywhere, and you're talking to all these people, explaining why you need it, and of course now there's no licenses. The weird thing is there were licenses, and there were people who had those licenses, but they actually could not use the software, had never even opened the software. What a waste. So I didn't get it, and so I went on my own. I found something that was online. It was called Lucid Charts, and so I went and I used that, and I was able to put together a process flow and an ERD and things to support what I was seeing from the database, all the different pieces, understanding how the business worked. And that was not my job to do, but it was what I did do to sell a change that I needed to have happen. And so I cut these things out because the company ended up, after I told my manager what I had done and the expenses out of pocket and stuff, and he was like, don't you do that no more. Don't come out of your pocket, we will pay for that. They ended up getting a license for several licenses from Pluralsight for our department, for the developers, and that is a big win for the company, because I'm one of those people, how can you ask your employees to do things that you won't pay for? If you want to invest in them, why should they invest in you? That doesn't make sense to me. But anywho, overall, my total savings from doing that was $408.40 for the year. And I'll make sure overall, I ended up saving $7,340.56. And that's a big win for me, and I'm like hoping that this will help somebody else go back through their budgets and look for things and see how they can actually minimize some of the expenses that they have going out, so they can help propel their debt snowballs or save for a trip they want to take or whatever their goals are. Sometimes you just have to dig a little bit deeper. And I don't think that when you're doing cuts and reductions that you should do it like once a year. You need to reevaluate over time, and whatever cycle fits you want to go ahead and make sure you're constantly looking and checking to make sure that you're getting the most for what you're paying for. And if you're not getting anything, then stop paying for it. I will be going back through my budget to check and see, hey, what works for me now? If I got something that's in there, I will make sure I go online and cancel it, or I will be making some phone calls to some people. But I hope this video was helpful to you all, and you guys have a super fantastic morning, afternoon,